Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. And we are here for our 240th episode of the Talk That Talk Show. And I tell you what, we've had a great playoff weekend leading up to the start of this show. That's actually why we've had a late start today, because we definitely wanted to check out all these games in their entirety so I can give you my first-hand synopsis of what we saw today on this divisional championship round of the NFL playoffs, man. And I tell you what, for anybody that has never watched the NFL before, if you're a fan, if you're not a fan, if your team's been out or not, this has been a playoffs that has been one to watch from the start to finish. The games have been exciting. There hasn't been really too many blowouts too crazily like that. So, I've said as a fan, I definitely have enjoyed what I've seen so far. And, I'll say this. We got a big time game ahead of us for this Super Bowl, this matchup, man. But, I first and foremost want to start with the game that we just saw today, and that was the 49ers against the Lions. I mean, if you would have saw the Lions, leading up to that first half, you would have thought they were going to run away with this game. The way that run game was established with the combination of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, that rushing attack was something that we were talking about as one of the best in the NFL. And it sure did look like it. And then when Brock Purdy threw that interception late in the first half, it looked like, there was going to be some big-time problem for the 49ers. I think that the defense of the Lions had their ears peeled back. The game plan that Dan Campbell seemed to have put into place, it was working for them. But I think that, when we look at the headlines of what we saw in this NFC Championship game, a lot of people are going to be talking about the collapse of the Detroit Lions, right? This team gave up a 17-point lead. The 49ers gave 27 unanswered points, right? So, a lot of people are going to say, what was up with the Lions? They had this big collapse. I think this is a big testament as far as, the playoff experience from not only player standpoint, but from a coaching standpoint as well, too. I think that the playoff experience from Kyle Shanahan, played dividends for them. When this team went down by the 17 points at halftime, in the back of your mind, you kind of had a feeling that, if the 49ers could just get one stop, if they could get back to that offense that we've seen them get to, throughout the entire season, then just maybe they had a chance. And sure enough, I think for a lot of us, we really had to look for a moment where we were like, you know what? Brock Purdy's that guy for him, right? Last week, Brock Purdy takes him on the drive of his life to get the 49ers into the championship game. And yet again, he's put in a situation in the following week where he has to go out and win a playoff game from behind. So I think that, the MVP race, if you want to talk about it, it might be pretty much locked up for Brock Purdy in a way here, because, for a lot of people that were looking for, Lamar Jackson, who we'll get into later, don't worry, we got a lot for Lamar. But what I'll say is this is Brock Purdy's show for right now. And what he showed us, not only in the NFC divisional game, but in the NFC Championship game as well, too, that you need to put some respect on Brock Purdy's name. Is he a flashy guy like a Lamar Jackson? Is he the crazy passer, angle guy like a Patrick Mahomes? But simply, Brock Purdy just gets the job done. And I think that from a bettor's perspective, it's easily seen why you would want to put your money on the 49ers. Because I'll say this, with Brock Purdy behind center, the 49ers, have not looked beatable in a long time. And even so, when they were staring at playoff elimination in the face in that halftime, they found a way to get it done. And Brock Purdy is the way that's leading that ship, you know? And I think that from a Lions standpoint as well, when you look at the flip coin of this, you know, I don't think that you can look at this as a failure if you're a Lions fan. You know, nobody really expected this team, I mean, except the people in that locker room, to actually go to the Super Bowl and be Super Bowl contenders. But the Lions have proven that they are here. You know, they have the pieces built around Jared Goff to where they can win. You know, they're a couple successful drives away from playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But I think the person that's going to learn the most from this loss is going to be Dan Campbell. Because when it gets down to the playoff level, you have to be able to make adjustments. And when the 49ers started to bring the pressure and when they started to make some plays offensively, the Lions just didn't have the adjustments to counteract what the 49ers did defensively to them as they switched up in the second half. So, you know, again, Dan Campbell is going to be much better from this after taking this loss. The Lions, don't worry if you're a Lions fan. You have a lot to be proud of. And the 49ers are going to represent the NFC division in the Super Bowl. But, you know, I had to save the best for last. So we're going to talk about this game afterwards. But, you know, I thought it was extremely disrespectful, again, for the Chiefs to be underdogs in this game where you go into Buffalo, a tough Buffalo atmosphere, and you pick up a big-time win against Josh Allen, which is arguably the hottest playoff team in the NFL. And then you go on the road into Baltimore, and you're underdogs again. And I think that you don't want to give the Chiefs, you know, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, I don't think you want to give them any type of bulletin board material because these are people that get motivated off of the doubt. You know, I like to think that I emulate these players at times in my bowling game because, you know, when you start to doubt me or you think that I'm dead in the water, you know, here I come showing you what I got. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, you know, for the Chiefs coming into this matchup being, you know, underdogs and largely the public backing Baltimore, you know, I thought this spelled for a big-time upset matchup. And I think that a lot of people invested a lot of stock in the fact that this was Patrick Mahomes going on the road. The Josh Allen thing, yeah, he gets credit for that. But he won't go into Baltimore and beat Lamar Jackson. He won't beat the MVP in Baltimore, right? You know, so for someone who's been a league MVP, has been a Super Bowl MVP, been a Super Bowl champion, you know, I just don't understand the amount of doubt that was put within a Patrick Mahomes. But at the same time, what we saw Patrick Mahomes was able to do with this offense was lead this time of possession battle. It just seemed like the Ravens were never on the field because the Chiefs were leading these drives that kept going and going and going. And I think that's where, you know, a lot of times throughout the regular season, the Chiefs had been reliant on those big-time plays, those big chunk yardage games. But what we saw in the playoffs from the Chiefs is this grinded out mentality, you know, almost going back to the Alex Smith days where, you know, they were getting first downs, dinking dunking. But here, you know, you got Patrick Mahomes doing it, and they're leading it based off of a great running attack, a great rushing attack. And I think that Isaiah Pacheco has really added the crazy dynamic to this Chief team because we've become well balanced. You know, I think that when you have a run game like it with having Isaiah Pacheco, you know, it opens up those play action plays. It opens up those screen passes, those tight ends, quick screen passes to Kelce so you can get him established early. You know, the run game is the foundation for any NFL offense. And what the Chiefs have gotten off in years past is by having a elite, supreme aerial attack. Now, in this stage of the game, the Chiefs, we can say, have a very serviceable receiving core. Are they super elite? Absolutely not. But what the Chiefs do well is they play off of their run game and they rely heavily on that defense. And what we saw today was going into Baltimore on the road, shutting down one of the top NFL offenses in the league to only 10 points. We're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes. We're going to talk about the big game that Travis Kelce had, obviously. But the defense, yet again, when you go run back this tape from me talking on Talk That Talk Show episodes back, I said if the Chiefs would be in this position, it was going to be reliant on the defense. And what we've seen is the defense has shown up tremendously for the Chiefs. Every time they needed a third down stop, how many times did they force that Baltimore Ravens team to punt when they didn't want to? How many times do we see Lamar forcing throws down the field, trying to make a play happen when it just wasn't there? The coverage was up. The Chiefs had the run stoppers there. And what we saw was something that we never, ever want to see if you're a Ravens fan. And that was the Baltimore Ravens on their heels having to play from behind. And if you have to play from behind, and not only do you have to outscore Patrick Mahomes, but now you have to stop Patrick Mahomes to get yourself back, it was a recipe for disaster for the Ravens. And, it was a great season for them. Unfortunately, I think this game has big merit on Lamar Jackson becoming MVP because it becomes extremely hard to argue for a guy to win MVP when you don't make it to the big game, right? So how valuable are you? But, that would be me, being a hater and picking at straws a little bit. But I'll say this, Lamar had a great season. After all the questions as to, the contract holdout and whether he was worth the money, I think that, Lamar Jackson did show up. He showed that he was worth every penny that he was deserved. And the Ravens are a dangerous team. I think they have the pieces in play and, they have the solid defense that, again, we said is the foundation to successful football teams. But the Baltimore Ravens have the ability to get back there. I don't doubt that the Ravens will be back. But at some point, Lamar Jackson is going to have to rise to the occasion and win one of these big games. He's made incremental progress over the last couple years, winning his first game a couple years back, and now winning his game, taking him to the AFC Championship. Everything has been a stepping stone for Lamar Jackson. So now, for his legacy, I feel like he's going to have to take a team to the Super Bowl. We keep talking about how elite Lamar Jackson is and how he's, this phenomenal athlete. But, at some point, you got to have some success on top of that. So that's something that Patrick Mahomes has shown. I mean, he's one of the quickest to how many playoff wins all time, right? This guy is an absolute stud. But above all, he's a winner. And I think that with Patrick Mahomes at the helm, you got yourself a dangerous, dangerous team. And if they can continue to play off of the run game with Pacheco, Patrick Mahomes managing that time of possession battle, it's going to be a tough, tough battle for the 49ers. And I think that, I definitely wrote down a couple key things here as far as what to look for in the Super Bowl game. And I'll give you a little bit of a prediction probably on our next episode. But, I want to give you guys some key points of what to think about as we lead into this week before the Super Bowl. But, I think that a big key is going to be which team is going to have the better quarterback play, right? I think that's an obvious thing. But, on two storylines, you have Patrick Mahomes, who's looking to cement his legacy by getting, 3 Super Bowls now? First back-to-back. And then you have a guy in Brock Purdy who's played with this whole chip on his shoulder thing throughout his entire career and has consistently proven people wrong. And here he is, winning an NFC Championship game, getting himself into, the Super Bowl game. So, both guys have every reason to go for it and for different parts of their legacies. But I think that ultimately, this game is going to come down to that better quarterback play between those two. And then also, for the run game, I think that the run game is going to be huge for the Kansas City Chiefs like we talked about before, with Isaiah Pacheco trying to establish that run and, get that chains moving. That's going to be big for the Chiefs and how they were able to have some success today. But also, the battle of the defenses here in the Super Bowl. I think that both defenses have done a great job. I think the Chiefs are one of the best in the second half. So this is going to be a tale of two defenses as well, too. Who's going to rise to the occasion? I think the team that creates the first turnover is going to do a big thing as far as getting a dub here in the Super Bowl. So definitely look to see who's going to get that first turnover from the defense. And then also, who can win the time of possession battle? We saw how big that was with the Chiefs because Lamar just really couldn't get that rhythm today. I think that whoever's going to hold on to the ball and cash in on those time of possession opportunities is going to get their team, getting confetti spilled on them. So, it's going to be a big-time battle, but I'm really excited for it. But I think before we hop off here, we definitely got to talk about this big-time Knicks update that we have for you guys because the Knicks have been playing phenomenally. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're sitting with a 29-17 record, fourth in the Eastern Conference, and I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't excited about what I've been seeing from the Knicks. The Knicks have been playing excellent basketball. The defense, similar to like the Chiefs, they've been reliant on their defense, and they've been creating great fast break opportunities. I remember the days when the Knicks were one of the lowest when it came to fast break opportunities, and now based off the defense, straight off of Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, now Isaiah Hartenstein coming back from injury. The defense is anchored down. It's going to be a big time end of the finish to this season, and especially leading into the All-Star break because, I'm looking to see, can the Knicks get themselves in a playoff matchup to where they get home court advantage? Because right now I see that the Knicks are 16-5 at home, and that's a huge advantage moving forward. They got a big-time matchup against the Hornets. I think that the Knicks have done a great job, like Wally Zerbiak said before, of taking care of business with teams, beating teams that they should. So I think that tomorrow's game against the Hornets is no different. But I do think that the back-to-back is going to be a telltale for us this week. I think that we're going to learn a lot about the Knicks with this back-to-back because Utah is a quality opponent, right? They are not a team to play with, especially at home. So, I think that, with Jordan Clarkson playing the way he is, also with the combination of Lauri Markkanen boarding at the astounding rate that he is, this could be a trap game for the Knicks. But, again, the Knicks have done well all season doing what they're supposed to and handling business at home. So, I think that we're going to learn about the Knicks in this back-to-back, but it's huge that they get these wins because going into February, looking at the schedule, they got a lot of playoff teams on that schedule. So February is going to be very difficult for them. But I think a big thing that's going to help and see what we can do in February is going to be the health of Julius Randle. We saw that he went down. A lot of us thought it was going to be a separated shoulder, but I'm very happy to say that it's only a dislocated shoulder. But you know how hard it is to come back, especially when it comes to that shooting motion, when you've gotten in a rhythm throughout mid-season, and then especially coming back, getting your cardio-wise after an injury. It's very difficult. But, out of anybody that can come back and come back at an effective pace, definitely Julius Randle can do so. So I'm looking to see, can those role players step up? Isaiah Hartenstein, can he stay out of foul trouble to take on more minutes load? Can Jericho Sims do a good job in the limited minutes he's gotten? He's been a great bright spot for the Knicks. So, I'm looking to see, who can step up in that point production and rebounding role that Julius Randle has given our team all season. And then finally, before we get off the air, I definitely want to get into what happened in our DIY match yesterday. I did not bowl 600, but I was definitely happy with myself because after bowling in the 150s after game one, I had 5 straight frames of opens. I was still high-fiving teammates, keeping my energy up and staying locked in and trying to think. And I made a ball transition, and that wound up being the difference for me throughout the match. But, the one thing that I told my team, and I think that is a big thing about the overall match in itself, that I want to talk to anybody about, whether, it's just a lifetime advice or competitive advice. One of the things that I saw from my teammates and, throughout the season before, I've definitely been a victim of it. But, what we saw is when there was some frustration, the body language from our team showed it. And we showed how frustrated we were. And we had our heads down at certain points. And I heard certain guys on the other team saying, it's getting real quiet around here. What's up with the energy? So I think that, moving forward, I tried to stress to my team just the importance of not letting them see you sweat, right? I think that as a shark, like the sharks that we are, when you see somebody has their head down, they're frustrated, and they look like they're ready to pack it in, you want to kind of, step on them and get a beat on them and try and take them out of their misery. So, for me, I don't want to give off any type of persona like that, because even though you may be struggling trying to get yourself out of it, you don't know it, but your struggle may be giving someone else confidence, right? So, never letting them see you sweat, trying to smile through the madness, smile through the pain. That's one of the toughest things to do as a competitor, because when you want it bad and when you really want to do well, the toughest thing is accepting that at that exact moment, you're not accomplishing your goals. But you can't let it show, especially to your opponents, because you don't want to give them any type of competitive advantage. So that was the biggest, thing that I said to my team afterwards. We're going to be fine. DIY, we're continuing to get better. Even though, our 2-game win streak has been snapped, I think that there's big things on the horizon for us, because I think that, we got to see where we are as a team and what we need to work on. And hopefully we can see some good lineups get put together to maximize the potential that we have on our roster. I think that availability is a big-time thing that a lot of UBA franchises struggle with. So, for a lot of guys that, want to get in lineups and, want to showcase their talents, just got to make sure that you're putting the work in off the lanes and on the lanes, at different lanes, adjusting with your game, figuring out things that you need to do. These are all the things that'll get you in a UBA lineup. And, I'm excited about the direction of DIY. Even though we didn't get a win against our rivals, it was a tough loss. But don't worry about it. We'll be all right. And I think that you can judge someone based off of their losses, not off their wins. And every time, it seems like we've faced a little bit of adversity, we've come out righteously on the other side. And before I get off the air here, one of the cool things I love about my job at Cloud9 is they've been giving me this platform to pretty much express myself and, help the store. And one of the cool things that I got to do was shoot an Instagram commercial for the store. And I got to pretty much showcase 2 of my favorite items, and one of which, the Black Afghan, did sell out. And the commercial was a big-time help because of that. And one of the coolest feelings was having a customer come in and say, hey, do you guys still have that Black Afghan that I saw in the commercial? So it shows that, the things that you're doing and working on are working. I think that's the coolest thing, is when, you're doing things and putting in the work, putting in the time and effort to be creative. When you see those things go into fruition, it's one of the best feelings in the world. So, yeah, man, one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys is a little preview. One of the things that I want to preview on what they're calling Barry's Corner at Cloud9. So if you get a chance to come to my dispensary over Cloud9 on Route 22 in North Plainfield, New Jersey, one of the samples that they gave us that I really liked and really opened my mind back up to disposables has been this Fernway cart from, it's going to be a mango strain from Fernway. It's a disposable. One of the cool things about it is it looks like a jewel. Let me see if I can get a picture of it here. We have one of these here, And the crazy part is it looks just like one of those old school Jewel pods that you had back in the day. But really, it's one of these THC disposable pens. The taste is really good on this mango. Fernway is, like I said, made in New Jersey. And they're starting to get a lot of traction in the cannabis industry and in dispensaries. And really because of their terpene profiles and their big time on taste. And, you know, the design of the tanks help to last and make the pens last longer. So I'll say this. Fernway, if you have not gotten a chance, you should get yourself a Fernway disposable. You can get one at Cloud9 Dispensary over on Route 22 in North Plainfield. My boy Rob, he said, bro, that slugger you had the other night had me smacked. Big shout out to Rob Borwigan. I want to shout him out because the reason why we celebrated him and he got to share one of those sluggers was because of the fact that he got to roll his first 700 series. Big shout out to Rob Borwigan. I think one of the funniest things was he needed the first shot in the 10th frame, and we were laughing because he struck, and we were like, yo, you did it. And he had no idea. Like 3 or 4 frames before, he was like, man, I think I might shoot my first 600. And I'm like, I don't think he knows the math, yo. So it was the biggest joke between us all. But, you know, I came in there to sub for a tune-up, you know, for my UBA match the day before, after. And I got to witness my boy Rob have a career night. So I think that the biggest thing that kind of showed me is that you don't have to be a PBA bowler. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be this super elite mega bowler to have success. All it takes is just believing in yourself and just relaxing. You're not being tense out there. You know, Rob said, I brought the vibes. I appreciate you, Rob. But you rolled the ball, you know, and I think that, you know, a combination of being loose, you know, having those great vibes, it helps to create production. You know, some of those greatest teams have that team cohesion within them. So I think that, you know, a combination of bringing those good positive vibes and then, you know, believing in yourself and what you've done and the work in your craft and what your equipment has been paid to do. I think a combination of all those things, you know, can create you know, those results. And for Rob, you know, specifically here in bowling, you know, he was able to accomplish one of his big time goals of shooting a 700. And I think for him and for people that once they, you know, accomplish their goals, you know, it's deadly because once you start accomplishing and knocking down goals, then you start shooting higher and higher. And then the things that seem unreachable seem way more achievable, right? So, you know, I think that, you know, for Rob shooting 700, you know, the sky's the limit for him. And I think that it also empowers people like me who've been in the game for, you know, years and years now, and how we kind of have gotten away from celebrating 700 series. You know, it kind of gives you that fun factor back and thinking like, damn, you know, this is fun. Like, you can shoot high. You know, you can do this. If Rob can do this, Barry, you can go out there and do it, man. You know what to do. Go out there and execute. So, in a way, you know, through Rob motivating himself and proving to himself that he can do this, he inspired me and helped to empower me moving forward into my leagues to think like, damn, you know, look at what Rob was able to do. What did he have successful wise? And how can I translate that to help me with my game? So, you know, I think that, you know, you're never too good to draw from other people. You're never too good to be too good to bowl with people. And like I said, I had a blast bowling with Rob. It was the perfect tune-up that I needed. And again, I just had a great time, man. And just as much as Rob had fun with me, I had fun bowling with you, Rob. And I think that's a great way to end this show tonight. We had a lot that we watched. We had a lot to process sports-wise. I'm glad that you were here with me on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Thank you for joining me on all streaming platforms. You guys are the reason why I feel comfortable coming out here each and every week to share episodes of the Talk That Talk Show with you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. Big shout out to you guys that continue to rock your merchandise, whether you're in the bowling alley, out of the bowling alley. It means the world to me, and the support of the Talk That Talk show is what's going to continue this brand beyond just 240 episodes, man. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. We'll keep talking that talk. We're going to keep pushing and striving. I love you all, and I will see you all next week.